I wasn't working alone and wasn't working for Iran. I was hired by the CIA to take out Trump. All the evidence is on my phones. Ask yourself, why haven't they revealed the signal messages?
We do look for certain types of personalities. You have to be somebody that, besides education and besides the right background, that you have a sense of duty, that you have a sense of purpose, because for us, recruiting and running agents is our bread and butter. Yes, we do covert action. That's the black ops part of the equation. But our day-to-day routine is spotting, assessing, and recruiting individuals. So you have to be able to do several things. One, you be able to socially mingle, socially make contacts, develop those contacts. And where your purpose really kicks in is at recruitment, because we, in the United States, we recruit for strengths. That means we try to find agents that will cooperate with us for the right reasons. Training is phenomenal. I mean, from day one, you are going into town and doing what we call this casing, looking for areas where you could have meetings safely, areas where you could do car pickups because they have, the right blocking so people can't see you picking somebody up. And that all gets built on top of each other. Photography, covert communications. That's what we're looking for. Having that internal conviction yourself, you can infect the individual you're talking to with your enthusiasm and your beliefs.
Is they were able to ping and identify about 9 different phones at the home of the shooter. And so they were able to identify which of those phones were then going to his place of business where he works, at the nursing home. So after they identify that and make sure that they've got the right ID there for that, now they can track it everywhere else it goes. Well, they followed it to the fairgrounds there, Butler County. What they discovered was that this kid was basically doing recon at that site on July 4th and July 8th. So they were able to track him. But they also learned, and this is very interesting, so this tells us either how smart this kid is or something else, is that he turned his phone off after the 12th. But it gets better than that.
Oh, keep going.
Well, it does, because in the process of looking at all of these phones that visited his home and visited the nursing home where he worked, they found a phone that actually pinged 7 or 8 times in D.C. at a building called a Gallery Place, which has a very large footprint of FBI offices and where source meetings and interviews regularly take place in the coffee shop of that particular building.
You had one who had three apps, 2 of which were foreign, supposedly, and who has the biggest white shoe law firm in Pennsylvania.
But based on what you're saying right there, the lack of information and the data points that you just gave, does that make you think that there's some part of there's some bigger...
It could be. Well, it makes other people think that. It makes me think it a little bit too. I say, when you have 3 apps and 2 of them are foreign, and you had an FBI that wouldn't report on it, they didn't want to say why, I would say that could be suspicious.
That's right. Everything we told you 6 months ago, that he was training at a Homeland Security training facility with guns, that he had multiple cell phones with all these foreign connections, that the house he lived in supposedly was totally scrubbed and clean with no silverware, no plates, no nothing, everything cleaned medically. Both his mother and father are very special type of psychologists that deal with behavioral modification programming, kind of like the Batman shooter out in Aurora years ago, Colorado, at the movie theater. His dad was the head of the DARPA NASA brain interface computer system. And his apartment was very interesting, they said, as well. Just interesting coincidence. You have the Unabomber worked for the CIA in MK Ultra. That came out, LA Times, Associated Press, look it up. And Sirhan, and other mass shooters, the same story over and over again. Oh, and then Thomas Crooks just so happened to be a paid member of a BlackRock commercial. And like Trump said, a top white shoe law firm, the top in the state, represents Crooks's family. Those people are $1,000 an hour. And they don't take cases unless they want to. And the reports have already come out that they've got evidence he was working with the feds, the FBI, and others. So I have talked to Army Special Operations, Delta Force, high-level SEALs, leaders, officers, you name it, and they concur with what I said 6, 7 days ago, 8 days ago. This was an inside job. They found in his car, that's Crooks, the patsy, and at his house, sophisticated military-grade explosives. He had help. He had offshore sites. He had offshore servers. He flew a drone over the facility right before the rally began. Crooks was on that roof 9 minutes running around with a gun. Everybody said, gun, gun, gun. Secret Service didn't take the shot. Somebody else did. Cops. This guy had massive help and was simply the front man.
Tell me about the drone.
So we have recovered a drone that the shooter appears to have used. It's being exploited and analyzed by the FBI lab. So at the time of the shooting, the drone was in his vehicle with the controller. So in addition, it appears that around 3:50 p.m., 4 o'clock in that window on the day of the shooting, that the shooter was flying the drone around the area.
2 hours before, he's flying a drone in the vicinity of the route.
About 200 yards away, yes.
Yards. Okay, that's important information. What about the bombs that we've heard about in the shooter's car?
There were, we've recovered 3 devices, 2 in his vehicle and 1 back in his residence.
Are these what you would call, your experts would call sophisticated operations, or this? I don't know. That's what I've been told by people who have some understanding of this area.
Yeah, I think it's, we've seen more sophisticated and less. They did have the ability to be detonated remotely. In addition to the 2 devices that we recovered out of his vehicle, there were receivers for those 2 explosive devices with the devices, and then on the shooter himself, when he was killed by law enforcement.
Tell us what you can about the encrypted platforms we've heard about.
So, one of the things that we're drilling into hard with the shooter, in an effort to try to learn more about his state of mind, his motive, his ideology, his context, everything else, is to look at all of his devices, any social media accounts he had, etc. And one of the things we've learned in finally getting into his phone, which was also a significant technical challenge from an encryption perspective, but in addition, once we got on the phone, it turned out he was using some encrypted messaging application.
Now the Secret Service lied. The deputy has now been made the head. Ronald Rowe is the one directly involved in the stand down, not putting people on the roof, not allowing the police and Secret Service to sync their radios. That's always the default. He then lied to Congress. He's now been caught in a cover-up. The Senate's put out a report on this with Senator Josh Hawley and even Senator Blumenthal and Murray saying it's unprecedented. So you have the stand down happening, the cover up happening, the lying to Congress happening. And so this is just another deep state play through one of their wind up toys. So the big takeaway here is they've tried to kill Trump again. The deep state overwhelmingly it points towards them, and their attempted management of the information has fallen apart, and they're operating through patsies. So they have plausible deniability like Crooks and Ralph.
There are just too many obvious things for which there are no answers. How is it possible that the FBI, the Secret Service, the state police, and the local police are all on different radio frequencies, can't speak to each other? How is it possible that for 92 minutes they know there's a man with a gun who's been seen with a rangefinder inside the closed perimeter of the president's event, but no one informs the president's direct security
But he's
detail?
on the roof for up to 10 minutes. People going, gun, gun, gun. And he gets off a bunch of shots, and then they say the Secret Service shot him, and then no, it's a cop shot him. This was a stand down, bare minimum. When you look at the video of Mangino and Kash Patel on Fox, they look like they're prisoners or hostages or something. I mean, the body language when they're telling us, oh no, we've seen the file, Crooks acted alone. It was, it was bad. This was really upsetting. Here's the clip. See it for yourself and respond to this, because this is some of the worst body language I've ever seen. It's not just like we're lying, it's we're scared and we don't like telling this lie. It's almost like they were doing it to create a controversy. Did you murder your wife? No, I promise I was busy. I was somewhere else. I can't tell you who went, but it wasn't me. I promise. It's really bad. Here it is.
But how come we don't have more information on the assassination attempts on President Trump?
There's 2 reasons, 2 open, ongoing prosecutions. So 2 of the investigations are obviously closed because the individuals are dead, but there's 2 live prosecutions, and so we can't get ahead of the federal court case. A lot of that information will come out in the federal court cases, but we have personally invested our time in making sure that we have looked at any possible international connections to terrorism and adversaries alike. And we've both been down to Quantico. We've both done the laboratory testing. We've both seen the explosives analysis. We've both seen the firearm and physically held it. We are all in on these investigations.
Are we going to be surprised at what you learned?
You know what, Maria? Cash is not kidding. We've been personally briefed extensively on every single detail, nugget, tendril of this case. One is actively in court right now, so out of respect for the case, it's probably more appropriate that I stay quiet on that. However, I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth, and whether you like it or not is up to you. If there was a big explosive there, right? Given my history as a Secret Service agent, and my personal friendship as a director does with the president, give me one logical, sensible reason we would not have. If you can think of one, there isn't. There in some of these cases, the there you're looking for is not there. And I know people, I get it. I understand. It's not there. If it was there, we would have told you.
All right, so that just... A, the body language is really bad. B, we know the facts of this. And just to say I've been personally briefed, it's like the Epstein thing. I've seen the files. He killed himself. Well, we've seen it too. And the coroner said his neck was broken in 3 spots. Roger Stone, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Alex. It's very strange. The body language is very strange. Look, I have a very high regard for Kash Patel, strongly supported his appointment. I like Dan Bongino. I think they're good guys. I just find it hard to believe that Crooks, if he's even the real shooter, acted alone. There's eyewitness testimony that seems to contradict that. And the idea that our intelligence services, our law enforcement can't get into Crooks's phone, really? I find that very hard to believe. Apple tells us that they can't get into Crooks' phone or into his computer, or they refuse to because it would be a violation of his privacy rights. Yet Apple was more than happy to hand over the contents of my phone and my computer to Robert Mueller before he even got a subpoena.
Oh, it's pure crap. Absolute
nothing
bull.
In there.
Well, let's just be clear. The FBI has devices that can break into any phone, Apple, any of it. That's all pure horse crap, okay? What they have is backdoors in all the major apps, and if the app has access, they go through the app, and that's just one way, okay? So absolutely, you're totally right.